If you're tuned in the Asante region through Love FM, we love you very much. Thanks for choosing us. And for those of you listening in the Central region through ATL FM, thank you so much for spending your morning right here on the CIMG radio program of the year. And there's a reason why we're the best. It's because what matters to you matters to us. Cement is what everybody's talking about. The prices flying through the roof. We need to figure out how to bring some sanity to the sector, and there's no better person to help us understand the way forward than Professor Alex Dodoo. He's the Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority. He also happens to be the chairman of the Cement Manufacturing Development Committee, which was established under LI 2480. Prof, what a pleasure. Good morning.
Good to be back. Thank you very much. Good morning, Kojo.
Yeah. Well, Prof and I, every time we get together,
things happen.
Things happen. and look, today's conversation is important. Before we get into things, because we're going to take a break in just a moment. But one very quick thing I wanted to touch on before we get into things. The impression created is that the Minister of Trade is now seeking to regulate the sector, but that's not true. It's been regulated, hasn't it?
Actually, Kojo, sadly, hitherto, there was no regulation for the cement sector. The entire industry, yeah. So basically, companies spring up, and there's no law restricting where they could be located and what they could do. And there are reminders on the Accra towards the Kaswa Road. I don't want to mention any names. Right. There was no regulation. Amazing. But that was because there was only one major company that then, but now there are 14 players, and probably by the end of the year there may be 20 or more.
But LI 2480 changes that
completely. And yesterday I told the manufacturers that when you have not been regulated for years, then all of a sudden regulation comes. There is anxiety, there is fear, and then it shows in some of the statements and sentiments which have come out.
Now, yesterday you met with them. Did they give you the price build up? Don't answer. We'll find out whether or not we now know what goes into the price of cement after these messages.
On air. Your morning radio.
You're welcome back. Let's talk cement. And one of the people taking concrete steps, see what I did there, to bring some regulation to the sector is Professor Alex Dodoo. He's the Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority. He's also the chairman of the Cement Manufacturing Development Committee, which was established under LI 2480. And of course, that's the committee that met yesterday, am I right? Or you just met with some of the...
No, it's that committee met with all stakeholders.
That's right.
Media, manufacturers, and basically, cement has become like, in a way, petrol. Everybody's affected or impacted by cement. And for an industry that is so important now, obviously Ghanaians are very sensitive about price.
Yeah.
I must say, since Thursday when the first version of the LI was laid, people call me and there's only one question they ask. They say, Prof, do something for us. Cement, no walk us through. Let it come down. And I'm like, okay, I don't produce cement, but I believe that we are going on the right track. Right. At the end of the day, a strong level of transparency in the cost build-up of products benefits everybody. At the end of the day, consumers want to know whether their cement price is going up because the dollar has strengthened against the cedi, or whether there are other things going on. And in the end, the industry are agreed that that is the right thing to do.
That's good news. Prof, before we get an answer to the question I asked before the break, let me just remind all of you that, look, this conversation is being had because of you. Okay, this affects you. So send through your questions, okay? You can either post on X, which is what we prefer, and use the hashtag JoySMS and post your questions, your thoughts, your views on this whole cement debacle. Or you can send us a WhatsApp, 055 1111 997. All right, Prof, yesterday you sat with the people themselves. Did they give you the breakdown of the X factory price?
With your permission, with your kind permission, I want to sort of situate it in a way to answer you.
Okay.
So this is what happened. The location of cement had been a problem. Factories spring up, and there was no law to specifically permit or not to permit you to have a cement factory.
Right.
So basically things were happening, and Parliament really got concerned that, wait a minute, as a country, you cannot situate a cement manufacturing plant next to a bakery and other things. So
Right.
Parliament felt, what law can we use? So the Ghana Standards Authority Act provides a framework. So they laid an LI, which says that you cannot even think of manufacturing cement unless, one, you register as a manufacturer. Then you are given a license to manufacture. This is all very new. So at the committee that I'm chairing, we said, how do we do it in practical terms and quickly and efficiently? But as part of that, Honorable Katie Amon did request that the committee should also consider pricing, because his worry were twofold. One, across the country, prices vary too much. And then two, prices seem to be always going up. And these two things tend to happen even though the demand or the supply of cement far outstrips the demand. I mean, we have the capacity more than twice what we need. So if it's purely demand and supply, then prices should fall. Prices are not falling, but more and more new entrants are coming in. So it's like, it must be a sweet soup. So let's know what goes in. After 5 meetings and the prices not coming out, the minister said, look, if companies will not do it voluntarily, I will resort to legislation, because that is the only tool available. And that is what led to the legislation for pricing. But all along, it's been a voluntary call for companies to give an indicative ex-factory price at the factory gate. Give your price, just let us have an idea of what goes into the cost build-up, so that if prices are going up, Ghanaians can go along with you that, oh, this is because the dollar has done its thing again. Or, by refusing really was a frustration to every player, because at the end of the day, government on behalf of the people wants transparency, and I believe all of us love transparency. When that didn't happen, legislation had to come in. The nature and the format for the legislation was what led to the issue. But yesterday, I'm happy to report that the newer version of the pricing regulations was laid in Parliament, and in 21 days it becomes law.
Okay. So I'm getting from your response that even yesterday, the actual specifics of the price build-up was not shared by the
it was not.
manufacturers. So what is it? I mean, when you ask them for it, what tends to be their answer? What's their reason for not giving this detail? What do they say?
At the committee level, it's been that, we are happy to provide it.
But they don't provide it.
But it doesn't come. Well, it hasn't come as at the time the laws have to come in. So now you have to legislate it. Initially, the discussion was publish it on your website, or give it to the committee so that we publish an aggregated average, so that people don't know who is doing what. But now it's got to come from each company, and it's got to be published like the water level in the Akosombo Dam or any other thing. I think, and in the new LI, the requirement is that submit it to the committee. Let us know the cost build-up, as in your labor costs, factors like exchange rate depreciation, cost of electricity, reasonable profit margin. We will never be able to know the true cost, because at the end of the day, they are businesses and they must make a fair return on investment. But the operative word is fair. Secondly, Ghanaians are now socialized to petrol prices going up in line with the dollar doing its own thing or other factors. So we believe that when that begins to happen and you have a transparent regime, Ghanaians will go along with you when prices increase. Yesterday, we made them aware that, look, cement affects all Ghanaians regardless of the party or the political party they support. So let's move this into something which affects people. In addition, because the moment you go into a pricing regime, the biggest fear is quality. And I don't like mixing the universes, but we've had enough concerns, so we have served notice that they should also expect that the quality of products on the market will be published. If companies have to be stopped from producing, they will be stopped from producing. Because if we are in the pricing regime, there should be a basic assumption that the quality is the same. If the quality is not good, then we are in trouble. And current indication we have is that people are using unapproved materials, etc., etc. So, two-pronged approach: transparency in pricing and giving Ghanaians the assurance that the quality of products you buy are of the expected quality.
If you just joined us, the voice you've been listening to is the voice of Professor Alex Dodoo. He's the Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority, currently seized by law with the regulation of the cement industry. Raymond and I are playing host to him.
Yes, sir. And I've just seen the Ghana Standards Authority pricing of cement regulations. I just look for the purpose of the regulation, and it states here: the purpose of the regulation is to provide for 1, streamlining and regularizing of the pricing of cement for wholesale and retail distribution in the country. 2, the pricing of cement in the country in a fair and transparent manner. 3, the prevention of price gouging in the pricing of cement and the promotion of competitive practices within the cement industry. Have we ever done this in Ghana before?
Never.
Never.
Well, not to the best of my knowledge in the cement sector.
Which examples across the world did we learn from in putting this regulation together?
So there are two things. I happen to have been the co-chairman for the Medicines Transparency Alliance way back in 2008.
Yeah.
Where we realized that prices of pharmaceuticals were just going up.
I agree.
So we had to sit and say, look, when there's transparency, things begin to work. We've also worked on what we call the extractive industries transparency initiatives, where companies, what they declare and what is published globally on the extractive industry, gold, diamond, helps us to know. And that is how come we know that sometimes what is exported and what is remitted never
There's a
match up.
difference, yeah,
The-
really.
so we know that transparency works. It stops. We call it price gouging because you can meet together and do an OPEC where you say, look, we'll control the volumes on the market to ensure that the prices remain where they should remain. The bit about the uniform prices across the country, indeed, the industry who sits with the committee as well did say that, look, to do this, let's see countries we do it, countries like Togo, Benin and others, and see whether their industries are competitive. So those were the ones. In terms of the actual LI, I must say that the minister, as a seasoned lawyer, together with other lawyers in parliament, this is not the current version, is not the original version. And I must say that members from both sides had very heated arguments on Thursday. And the arguments really dealt with one. There was a bit in the original one about going to jail and other things. So it was more about, let us not do a law whose enforcement would defeat the very purpose we want to achieve. And I'm pleased to say that for once in Parliament, I was seen as a good boy because I could see the converging point. And
What a rare occurrence.
I know, and I must say that I give a big shout out to the parliamentarians on both sides, because what they did was, Honorable Katie Amon was of the view that, look, I don't even need to prelay an ally constitutionally. But then Honorable Dominica Yeni said, look, that's your view, that's a constitutional issue, but let us solve a problem and let us discuss this. And in the discussion, I would say that it's been refined to a point where I believe we all like, the previous one was on prices. This is on pricing.
Okay.
And there's a big difference because the previous one had maximum retail price, and people felt, oh my God, that is like price control.
Yeah.
Price control will create inspectors of prices, and usually when that happens, we who are supposed to inspect will go and then they look a few, and it creates a whole monster. But the pricing regulation focuses on ex-factory price, the determination, and the transparency in that. It takes away retailers who are also mandated to report, but the sanctions on them are very, very little. But for the manufacturers, your license can be revoked.
If
Can
you
be
don't
suspended
report.
if you do not report. And what I am pushing for, as chairman of the Cement Manufacturing Committee or the cement regulator, are two things: transparency in pricing and transparency in quality.
What exactly do they be? Let's stay with the pricing specifically. What do you want to know? that they tell you a price build up and all the factors that go into the pricing. And if they tell you and you're unhappy with it, what will you do? What can you do?
You publish it. When you publish it, January, all the companies are giving you their prices. February, they give you their price. You begin to see a trend. If the trend are in line with exchange rates, solely in line with exchange rates, you would see it, like we do for petrol.
So if it's not,
Yeah, for example, someone gives you their price build-up and it says our inputs come up to 100 cedis. Exchange rate cushion is another 20 cedis. Profit, 300 cedis.
So the LI is clear. If they are not consistent, and it uses a very generic word, if we are not satisfied, we refuse it. So it means you cannot publish.
That is where the interest comes in. So if you, in essence, the stick and carrot here is, if you publish, you are meeting the requirements of the law. But if you publish and the Ghana Standards Authority is not satisfied with what you published, they can revoke your license.
Yes. And in fact, where the committee is not satisfied, it sends it back to you. And because you cannot continue producing unless you have published your price. So there is a stick, a strong stick. And if you do produce when you don't have a license to produce, you are in trouble. So government is using licensing and a committee of stakeholders, including both the Association of Ghana Industries and the Chamber of Cement Manufacturers, who curiously in the law are part of the regulator. They are part of the committee. So basically, it's not a government-imposed committee per se. You have EPA, you have Standards Authority, you have the manufacturers, then you have AGI, then you have MESTI, because of science, technology, innovation. So basically, it's a committee of peers, of stakeholders, and one lay person or one expert who is a Ghanaian who sits on it from the consumer side. When we start that, consumers can now say, wait a minute, exchange rate has gone up or has come down. How come cement prices don't fall? You and I know, because you and Raymond, that in Ghana, when things go up, even if the dollar, the city should strengthen,
The price will never come down.
So we need to have that conversation. And I'm happy you said, is it only one sector? It should not be. It should be systematically rolled across key sectors. Because currently, we are anxious. We are anxious, and as the industry calls on government to provide a level playing field and stop substandard products, the industry should realize that to deliver these services, government also expects them to have a conversation with consumers which is based on transparency.
We'll come back to pricing. It's the thing that people care about the most. But let's talk for a minute about the other part of your regulation, which is on quality. Now, it turns out that sometimes even the way cement is used is wrong.
So we have a situation. We have types of cement, and we know that some cement, a newer type of cement, which is supposed to be used just for plastering, for instance, is being offered incorrectly to people for foundation. So we are taking the key strong decision to reduce the bag size from 50 kg to 25 kg and mark it red.
To show the difference.
To show the difference. I think when you put yourself as a consumer, you see how confusing all these things are. So we have told the industry that, look, every Ghanaian is building, whether for a church, for their houses, and so on and so forth. How are we communicating to them? Secondly, cement can be strong but not durable. Because for cement, you need it to be hard, but you also need it to be durable. It should last, or else your buildings will collapse. I mean, we see buildings sucking water from, all because some players are adding unapproved substances like quarry dust. We did close down 3 companies. I am very convinced that those practices have not gone out. The data I have tells me, so I'm just confirming the data, and would apply the necessary sanctions publicly. Regulation should be quiet, but where certain players decided to be recalcitrant and very tough, and I have called on the industry. I have demanded of them that, look, give us a third-party neutral testing lab as well as the GSA, and let's create a regime where on the monthly basis quality of products are also published. I believe the more information Ghanaians have, the more they can make their decisions based on
So, Prof, give us an idea of the danger of using plastering cement to construct your foundation.
Your buildings will fall. In fact, they will fall very fast. It will stand for maybe 1 year.
Wow.
Yeah, it will stand for maybe 1 year. But it will collapse. I mean, that's a guarantee. Not it may. It's a matter of when. And in addition to that, one other thing we are paying close attention to is the weight of a 50 kilogram bag of cement.
I would have thought it was 50 kilograms.
The data I have, and as you would appreciate, I collect a lot of data. Makes me very sad, because you see,
Depending on where you buy it.
when the 50 kilograms is not 50 kilograms, not only is the Ministry of Finance shortchanged, but importantly, the Ghanaian is shortchanged twice. One, the money is taken from you, and two, finance doesn't also get the money it needs, so finance comes back to you one way or the other for more money. So you are
And the
paying double.
cement you need for the job you've
Doesn't also
calculated
work.
also doesn't.
So 3-0. So I mean, look, I told the industry yesterday that the cement industry is very important to the growth of a country. The buildings we need in the next 20 years, we don't even have half of that building today. So we are going to build and build and build. Because of the sensitive nature, dare I say even the political nature of it, by having a transparent regime, we take it from the realms of emotions to facts. Let us have good quality products. Let it be affordable or reasonably affordable to the average Ghanaian. And I believe the industry will grow. But at this stage where Ghanaians really stress, when they, in fact, some people are beginning to get anxiety when they hear the word cement. I don't know whether it will become a health condition in future, but prices of cement worries us. So it's a very key industry. It creates jobs, a lot of jobs. The value chain, as in from the manufacturers to the sellers, is also a whole new ball game. And people go for big loans to gauge on the price. So this is what is happening. People know that cement prices may go up, so they take a loan of 1 million. They buy maybe 50 trucks and pack and wait. So all sorts of things are going on, and whether you like it or not, it creates the semblance of a bit of cartelism, a bit of. I mean, look, if there's no regulation, then the Wild West may prevail. And I must say that I applaud Honorable Katie Amon and the parliamentarians of both sides, because there was a lot of joy, I can tell you.
Listen, we're going to take a break. When we come back, our conversation with Prof. Alex Dodoo is going to go into the next phase. And we are interested in a couple of things. First of all, we want to know who is affected or to be affected by this new LI. Which of the players in the value chain, all right? The person who is building blocks at your junction. Is that person, regulated by this? What about the one who owns the trucks that move the cement into the construction areas? Are they affected by it? Is it just the manufacturers? What about the distributors? What about those who have warehouses full of cement, as we heard, and are using it as a speculatory, commodity? Listen, who is affected by it? When we come back, we'll get information on that and more. Stay with us.
On air. Your morning radio.
All right, let's get back to it. And Prof. Alex Dodoo is educating us on the new LI, which is intended to bring some regulation to the cement sector, not just in pricing, but in quality as well. The idea here is simple. Licensing comes through the Ghana Standards Authority, and in order for you to achieve or maintain your license, you must meet certain requirements. One of them is that you must publish the price build-up of your factory, ex-factory price of cement. Okay, let us all know what goes into it, and if what goes into it doesn't meet the satisfaction of the Ghana Standards Authority, well, you might have to go back and do it again, or lose your license. So, Prof, we understand those who are manufacturing it are affected by this, but who else? So who else in the value chain falls under your regulation if this becomes law?
So the definition of cement now within the context of the law has been defined by Parliament.
Right.
And it says in these regulations, unless the context otherwise, the usual law, cement includes components of cement. And I use the word components because those who are producing limestone, those who are producing, they will tell you that since people started using quarry dust, now nobody's coming to buy their limestone. In fact, you can always use proxy approaches to know what is going on in the industry. So they are not going there anymore. And when we closed down the companies, the prices of limestone started going up.
Imagine.
Yes, because now everybody. So cement components includes components of cement, and then the industry itself means the chain involved in production, bagging, distribution, and sale of cement. So in fact, the pricing regulation also expects that wholesalers and distributors will publish. But then you ask, what is the sanction regime on them? And it is deliberately light, but they are expected to produce it. So what will happen is that now manufacturers will be duty bound to inform their wholesalers that, look, people know how much we are giving it to you for. And even if you cannot give the prices, be aware that our brand is now at stake. So the law is trying to use a very mature approach, which does not necessarily just criminalize, but has a sanction that hits the pocket. Because, look, let's face it, when the sanction becomes too heavy, then people begin to go to court and other things. And we will also, if you look at it, the LI is clear. It says that even wholesalers and retailers should show what goes in. And their price build-up, we expect, should include the ex-factory price, the cost of distribution, and the ex-factory price, the cost of the distribution, and other associated costs. And then finally, obviously, their own profits. But nothing else beyond that. And it's stated in the LI, I think it's sub-regulation 3435, where wholesalers and retailers are now also duty-bound. So we are going to a price disclosure regime. And I want to believe, if I'm not mistaken, in the UK, when you do offer products for sale, you are bound by law to display the prices on the products.
There's a group you attached to this. The C says any entity involved in the cement industry. In this case, who are they referencing?
Anytime you make a law, you need some omnibus clause for people who may rear their head, but will not want to play by the game. We also have cement importers. There was an old headline which is still valid, which allows people to import cement. They have to be treated, and any other would apply to them. That, look, what is the cost build-up for your product, and let the Ghanaian know it. We are not expecting them to tell us, oh, a high HR manager 20 cities, no, but just say labor, 10%, this 10%, 20%, and then this is how it works.
So you are demanding to know the cost of materials for the production of cement. B, labor cost. C, the cost of utilities. D, any other related costs.
Good. And then
E, the prevailing exchange rates that they use to determine their, what they call it. And F, margin of profit.
Okay, what the LI is asking them to do is that give us your price. Say an ex-factory price is 100 cedis. But we said, in your pricing, indicate to us quietly how the build-up was made, looking at these factors, because they are the factors which go into your products. Labor, clinker, exchange rate, this. So let us know. You know why that is a very subtle way of getting a lot of information? One, if you are using limestone, your price should be at a certain range. And if you're using unapproved materials, it should be lower. The curious thing is that the players who are using unapproved materials, which are of inferior quality and definitely low price, are selling at the same price.
Oh, okay.
They are selling at the same price.
Yeah, because that's how they're going to save money. By using the inferior product and then selling at the
I thought
superior
inferior
price.
would have actually brought prices lower so that people would choose you instead of choosing
They are
others.
using inferior products so that their margin will be bigger.
So you see that
It's greed.
In that area, there's no discussion on the fact that, quote unquote, lower quality or rather unacceptable quality is cheaper on the market. It's not so.
So how regularly, at what intervals will you require this information from the manufacturers?
Monthly, on the monthly basis. What we do expect is that you are producing 3 types or 4 types of cement. Just say your ex-factory price is 90 cedis. In the first month, we interrogate it, it's all right. If it begins to change radically, the only question we are going to ask you is that what changed? And if the changes are explained by exchange rate fluctuations or utilities, it's easy. But if now they are beyond, and that is why we said that in the first few months, not much will happen. But within 3 months to 6 months, if the changes cannot be explained away, whatever your build-up is. If it cannot be explained away by exchange rate fluctuations or utility costs, the Ghanaian will ask you a question that, wait a minute, master, what is going on here? I believe that when we begin to get into this transparent regime, hopefully it will be voluntarily applied to different other sectors. Because sometimes people say, oh, things have gone up. You say, oh, the dollar has gone from 1 cedi to 2 cedi. But the prices have gone to 100 cedis. Because, the average Ghanaian in pricing will say, okay, because prices have gone up, if I increase by the exchange rate alone, I won't be able to buy my beer or Alomo Bitters or Kobe or whatever. So they add their extra costs. Then they add their funeral costs and others. So you realize that our cost build-up is I always say we do social costs. The Ghanaian pricing normally is based on what money I need for my happiness, not the true cost. So when the exchange rate goes up, I say, then I add my other things. And that is what we are trying to stop.
Yeah. Now, a quick one on the quality standards. You've mentioned quarry dust a few times, so I'm assuming that this is something that is not to be added to cement. It is prohibited.
We allow a maximum of 5% of other materials which must be declared. The Kyojo, I would say it. I stay awake panicking on some of the practices, and of course we are duty bound to stop it. You stay awake because people are putting in things. Thankfully to us, we have acquired equipment which can at quick notice do quote unquote an x-ray of the products and tell you what unallowed products, both for cement and then subsequently also this year just for iron rods, so that people get the quality they need. I mean, it is worrying when players, once you manufacture a product, especially cement, you must be an expert in the field. Being an expert in the field presumes that you know the risk of adding things which will give you a strong product today, but it will just fall like a pack of cards. So people doing that, for me, it moves beyond the realms of just profitability. It is deliberately criminal. And look, we don't want to see any more buildings collapsing. You mentioned the issue of those who are producing blocks. We have started a voluntary scheme for the certification of concrete products. And across the country, companies are coming. But we are also determined to make it mandatory, because people are producing block with all sorts, and the block will look good. You plaster it, it looks nice, and when you paint a building, it's always beautiful. But and all these have to take into consideration that whether we like it or not, our country, especially our capital, is an earthquake zone. The ground activity on a daily basis is high. Our ground is always moving. So having an earthquake is something that we should take as a given. So because of that as well, the quality should be there. But the fact that the quality should be there should not translate that the price should go up. I don't think good quality products are necessarily always expensive. They can be affordable. And that is why we are pushing for this, and we are passionate about that.
Now, I remember when you put out a report on the quality of electrical cables, and the construction industry was really shocked to discover that there were pretty much only 2 companies in the whole country, Ghanaian companies, thank God, that were producing to the standard. What's the situation with the cement? Are they all now producing to the standard? What percentage would you say are meeting the mark?
Giving percentages is tough, but because that will be the headline. So we've had traditional companies that we know, without mentioning their names, and they have played by the book because they also have huge brands to protect. We've had new entrants. Of the new entrants, I would say that about 50% have given us anxieties of the new entrants. The cement industry itself, one wonders how, despite the huge capacity to produce, which is 18 million metric tons, we're only producing just about 9. So I would say at least 70% are playing by the book.
Okay.
But if even 10% are not playing by the book, it's too. In fact, 10% is 10% too much.
Yeah.
They should all play by the book. So what we've done is just to roll out our inspectors on them. We are spending quite a lot of money buying samples from the market regularly and testing them. But that's literally a heavy duty, because cement is heavy and you've got to carry it and do what you have to do.
Let me ask about pozzolana cement and alternatives of that nature. I mean, how reliable are they? And does your regulation apply to them as well?
It does, and in fact, I was going to come here with Professor Mark Bediakun. He's somewhere in the studio waiting. Pozzolan liner is good. But could you actually, if you permit me, let me say here that Ghana, in fact, in the past 2 months, at that May or April, I think it's May, my memory doesn't always serve me well, I have given approval for a new product for cement that will, in the next 12 months, reduce our reliance on clinker by at least 30%.
Oh.
It's called LC3, which is calcine clay. Basically, you take clay, you fire it up, and so on and so forth. So,
Made right here in Ghana.
Made right here in Ghana.
Okay.
And what we did was that the main company producing it has been producing it, but it needed a standard. And to have the standard, you need the science. So there's been a lot of discussions locally, internationally. I met the inventor, and I said, look, this saves us. Saves us. Clinker, we spend $500 million a year just for clinker.
Importing.
Yeah.
So in looking at the new products, I gave it to my boys. We work with BRI as well. And we realized that we could displace up to 50%. And the quality is equivalent. I'm not saying similar. Equivalent to clinker cement.
Wow.
The company is pushing for 70% replacement. Hitting slowly. So together with my board, we gave approval to calcine clay as a product for cement. And once they start producing, it's a game changer, not just for Ghana, definitely for the entire continent. Because clinker is always imported. And we have clay all over, and the clay will never finish. I mean, Ghana clay will never finish. So the clay areas in the Volta region and other places, and surprise, surprise, all of a sudden, all the companies are now saying, we want to do that. So the question is, all along, why haven't we done it? I will not speculate on your program, but to the extent that we are not going to displace it means that we also expect cement prices to come down.
Okay.
Because clay is not bought with foreign exchange.
Precisely.
And if we are displacing 50% of clinker, I think we can all do the maths and expect some. So if we have this pricing mechanism, then we're going to say, wait a minute, master, let this also reflect in what is happening. So look, the industry is understandably anxious, but we are duty bound to provide relief to ourselves. I don't want to talk like I'm talking for the average Ghanaian. I'm talking for myself too. I buy cement.
Yeah.
You buy cement. So Ghana has done well in being bold to approve LC3. That's what we call it. We are going to roll it out. And through the committee, we may mandate most products to contain a proportion of that product. If that displaces clinker, saves the environment, and also gives us, spares some of our foreign exchange. Every little
In fact,
helps.
it would earn us foreign exchange. If this is a Ghanaian invention, to save money everywhere.
Swiss, shall we say it's Ghana. It's a Ghanaian invention because Ghana had the wherewithal.
Right.
I almost use a non-political word. Ghana had a wherewithal to give approval, regulatory approval.
Fantastic. All right. We're talking to Professor Alex Dodoo, and I'm sure you have questions too. So we'll give you the chance to ask a few of them when we come back from these messages. Stay with us.
On air. Your morning radio.
Welcome back. It's 9:26 on the Super Morning Show, and our guest is Professor Alex Dodoo. He runs the Ghana Standards Authority, and he's helping us understand how that authority intends to regulate the cement industry. Very revealing so far. And we certainly want you to bring in your questions. We'll put them to him. You can call us on 0302 216 541 or 055 1111 997. Now listen, we want everybody to have the opportunity to ask their questions and for Prof to answer them all. Okay, so you have 30 seconds. Please put your question or your comment into a 30-second submission, and I will time you so that others will have the chance to call as well. Kwame is calling us from Ashaliboche. Kwame, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you. Your 30 seconds starts now.
Well, this initiative, I believe, is not the best because it is going to be a disincentive to investment of a lot of companies in Ghana, because the days of price control are over. Because there are a lot of companies in the cement manufacturing industry now. So because of that, it's very difficult for the companies to profiteer because there's good competition. Now, over the last 2 years, the price of cement has more than trebled. Why? Because of the taxes, because of the import duties, because of the currency. Currency risk is one of the things. It's a very big issue because some of the companies are running on, let's say, facilities that they took in dollars and all that, so the currency risk is affecting them. And then taxes have gone up through the roof. So I think this is an issue that they have to look at the taxes. If you buy cement for 100 cities and the tax component is 40 cities, who is to blame? How much is the manufacturer making?
Thank you, Kwame. Thanks very much for your question. We get it. We're going to get to you an answer. Chidiak is in Southla. Hello, Chidiak. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Kojo.
30 seconds.
Thank you. To Prof, how can the layman get to know that the cement he or she is buying is of a substandard? Thank you.
Okay, good question. Thank you, Chidiak. And let's go now to Harrison. Harrison, good morning.
Morning.
Yes, where are you calling us from?
My name is Harrison. I'm calling from Dodoo.
30 seconds.
Okay. I want to congratulate GSA for this initiative, but I'll plead with them that after the cement manufacturing company, they should check the iron rods manufacturing companies. Do you know what they do?
Tell me.
Construction. They've reduced the size of iron rods. The quality of material used for iron rods have been lowered, and the prices keep going up. Even the length, iron rod supposed to should be 30 feet. That's the length of each iron rod. But now it's not 30 feet. It's 28, 27.
Wow. Okay.
And so after cement, Mr. Dodoo should focus on iron rods manufacturing companies in Ghana. These
All
are
right.
foreign.
Okay, we'll do that for you, Harrison. We'll get you an answer. You can call us too, 0302 216 541 055 1111 997. Here's Samuel. Good morning, Samuel.
Good morning, sir.
Where are you calling us from?
Calling from near Plateau.
Excellent. All right, 30 seconds.
Okay, so my concern goes to the trade minister. I want to know why he is not concerned about regulating tomatoes price. Tomatoes is more of an essential commodity than cement. And why his focus is on cement and not tomatoes price and other commodities that are high price in the market. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Samuel. And let's take a call from Emmanuel. Emmanuel happens to be calling us from Accra. Hi, Emmanuel. Good morning.
Good morning. I think I'm happy about this program, and I think it's time as Ghanaians we should have structures in place in terms of even every product. But this particular one, I want to be ask the panelists there to find out whether the new product that has been found, are they also putting in place environmental procedures for those companies who will be actually exploiting this clay and all that? Because most often we don't take care of that, and it brings another problem, like happening to the small mines and all that.
Right.
So I want to find out about that.
Good question. Thank you, Emmanuel. Okay, let's move along to Tema. Hello, Michael. Good morning.
Hello.
Yeah, thanks for calling us.
Yes, quick question.
Yeah.
I would say without any shadow of doubt that even if you go today to timber market to buy board or wood in general, they're supposed to be 16 feet long. You get them in 13, 14. What are they doing about that?
Boards and wood.
General, yes.
Coming in different sizes, right?
Different lengths, yes.
Okay, all right. Different lengths. Okay. Thank you. That was Michael. Let's now talk to. Shall we take one more call? This is Papa. Hello, Papa.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. 30 seconds.
Yeah, I want to ask, if we regulate this manufacturing and they decide to cut down production, do we know the ripple effect? Are we ready for that one? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Papa. He's asking, what if the manufacturers reduce production? Okay. Nee is on the line. Hello, Nee. Good morning.
Yeah, Sam, good morning.
Thanks for calling us, Nee.
Yeah, I'm calling from Texas.
Yeah. What's your question?
Well,
30 seconds.
Yeah, I beg you. This one is a discussion that everybody was showing is or a man. I beg, can we ask ourselves why the minister was focusing on Smith alone? Because not Smith alone, the price has gone high. But everything has gone high, especially petrol price has gone high. So why the minister was focusing on Smith alone? Master, you yourself, come out and see the buildings that they are building. Mansions, apartments, and right now, the Smith price is killing them because they get everything cheap. But Smith alone, they didn't get it cheap. So if they are looking the money, the amount of money that they are using to buy Smith is killing them. That's why they are focusing on Smith alone. We bet them. KK price has gone high. Right now, myself, I want to eat KK and certify unless I use the KK. I come down. They should come down to KK and tomatoes, curry and things, not meat. We are begging them. Thank you.
Thank you, Nee. Thank you very much for calling. All right. So most of these questions are for you, Prof. Dodoo. Only a couple of them seem to be for the minister. So let's start with Kwame, who wanted to know whether this won't end up deterring investors, because to him, the real reason behind the hefty prices are taxes, duties, and of course exchange rate.
I mean, Kwame, I would like to assure you that if you look at the LI, it's about pricing and not prices. Secondly, it will not be a disincentive. The cement manufacturers, the chamber is on the committee, AGI is on the committee, and it's to provide a fair and transparent regime that communicates how prices are built up. That should support the industry.
Okay. Now, Chidiak was very interested in all of the warnings about quality. He says, how can he, as a layman buying cement, know that he's buying the right quality?
Chidiak, as we do our work, the key thing is that if there is substandard cement on the market, it should not be there. So, Chidiak, the Ghana Standards Authority does not expect consumers to go buying things buying cement looking for fake, quality or no quality. The assumption and the confidence we have to give Ghanaians is that only good quality products will be available on the market. That is the only thing we have to do. I think it would be unfair and unrealistic to expect consumers to know the difference between good and bad cement. Some other products you can say check the expiry. Cement is heavy, it's a weighty matter. So our job is to ensure that only good products. And where we find products of unacceptable quality, we have to be very loud in making Ghanaians aware so that you do not patronize them.
That does mean that we should be quite alert, because you've explained that at the moment you can vouch for about 70% of what is on the market, right?
Over the past year, we've had, thanks to support from government, 300 trading standards inspectors. So whereas we used only to be in Accra, now we are everywhere. Is that enough to cover the whole country? Not at all. But these are 300 young men and women we didn't have who know what to look out for, pick samples, bring it to us for testing. And indeed, in the new LI, the manufacturers also pay for the cost of surveillance. Because it will cost money to go around the country. And I would say at least 2 companies have also now procured equipment for us. We are yet to receive them to help us in checking the quality. Because within the industry now, the rigorous players want to be sure that those not playing by the rules are fished out. If that happens also, consumers benefit because they get a bigger share and hopefully prices will fall.
Right. Okay. Harrison says, look, check iron rods as well. He talks about how they are selling smaller and shorter iron rods of poorer quality, but the price keeps going up.
So, Kojo, Harrison called on us to when we finish cement. But Harrison, we are not waiting to finish cement. 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, I issued a public notice twice on iron rods. And we're very, very clear. Iron rods are sold by weight. And there must be markings on them. I mean, it's become a situation whereby people come and say, oh, I want small half inch or big half inch. You know, I mean, an inch is an inch. So I call the iron rods manufacturers, they are, or dealers, I mean, they're the big players. They are about 12 in the country. And we have laid down the law. We have laid down the law. So maybe we are not being loud about it because cement has overtaken us. But yes, we are already doing something. We have issued public notices. We have told them that if they do not contain markings, because you must mark the size so that when we check the size now, we can hold you liable for mislabeling and for deception. If you buy iron rod where it's not marked, then it's not legit. So we've made them aware of the standard and we are enforcing the standards. I think we have been too quiet in some of the enforcement actions because we are sanctioning people and we will continue to do so.
Now, this next question was meant for the trade minister, but maybe you can give us some insight from the standards perspective. Why are we not regulating tomatoes, which to us is a more essential, commodity than cement?
It's interesting, but you realize in Ghana we do have the Sale of Goods Act.
Yes.
Where the Minister of Trade could use. But we're also in a liberal democracy. I think what is happening is that certain products, when they get into the regulatory domain, you have the tools to effectively regulate. I mean, tomatoes and co. Really, it's going to be tough.
Nee was asking about kinky as well, so I guess the answer applies to both, right?
Yes, Nee.
Okay. Emmanuel is quite happy with what you're doing. He wants to know about what environmental protection is in place for the extraction and manufacture of this new
LC3.
Yes,
the
LC3.
clay cement. Emmanuel, what I would say is, as a country, quite often we do not praise ourselves enough, because the EP over the years make sure that they have an environmental impact assessment, but we have been to the various areas because most of the byproducts of those clays can also be used. Some actually can be used as pharmaceuticals. So we are having a complete 360 economy, and it's something Ghana should be proud of. But it's, when we do technical work in Ghana as a country, we don't praise ourselves as a country and take credit. And these are the things probably we should be encouraging the companies to showcase to the world, that we've done the complete circular economy that if others adopt. And I would say here that at least 1 or 2 development partners. Because you see, as you produce good cement from clay, the carbon trading that we are all getting into and so on and so forth comes in, and Ghana is going to be a net saver of carbon. Would the benefits come to you? Could you? I think that's a discussion for another day.
All right. Now, Michael in Tema says, look, your eye is on cement and even on iron rods, but timber products, boards, wood, there seems to be some lack of standardization there as well. So you are getting different lengths and so forth. And he's wondering whether you are aware
One
of
of the jobs we are doing, we are very much aware, Kojo. We are aware to the point, and once again, this will be for another thing, but we commissioned the building and the Forest Research Products Institute to buy furniture products across the country. For the chairs, over 90% failed.
Wow.
Yeah, the chairs. Seriously.
Wow.
Oh, the chairs. I mean, the chairs we buy and use.
Yes.
And then the other wood products. So we have decreed, and it's approved by the governing board, that you cannot now use furniture unless you want to FORIC for testing before we certify you. But once again, it's one of those things we haven't said. This research is as current as May 2024.
90% failed.
Yes.
Are we talking about furniture shops or merely chairs that we find around?
We tried both plastic, we tried furniture. The issue with the timber products in particular that is referring to is that we are trying to make sure that you support the likes of Angloga and others to come up. Now we know the role of the Forestry Commission, but some players are not playing well. Some furniture is coming out. It's not very, very well cured. We believe that the byproducts of our furniture industry can be used to produce things like the stuff IKEA uses, plasterboards, if they are standardized. The difficulty we have is that you always don't want to make things mandatory. I believe in using market forces, as in the money. And that is why the question on cement, it's more about a regulatory framework where people talk and you use licensing to punish them rather than catch people, go to court. Look, the court process is long. By the time you are done, everybody's tired. So by using licensing and what I say, regulation, and Ghanaians should start looking out for our mark on those products.
Right.
We can tell you what we have endorsed and we'll leave you to use your money to make your choice. I believe that's the only way you can effectively and sustainably regulate this country.
Perfect. Papa has a concern. He's wondering, I mean, what if you clamp down on these cement manufacturers and they decide to reduce production?
The LI 2480 gives us conditions attached to the license. One of the conditions is how much you can produce. Because we are determined that you produce more. Because, look, the easiest way of making sure that you keep prices high is always to reduce production. So you have to give a condition. Cement is needed by Ghanaians. It must be produced. If you don't control those things, the easiest thing to do is just to reduce the production. Prices go up, you make the same profits. So we would, in fact, the conditions attached to the licensing is where the sweet spot is.
Right.
Because in most countries, you are told to produce. I mean, even in football, we have the financial fair play. I mean, there is no free market which does not have a framework for what you can do. I mean, Man City cannot just buy any player these days. There is a limit because at the end of the day, you are operating in the market. Google was told that you cannot use your dominant marketing position. I mean, MTN a few years ago was told you cannot reduce data prices. So they cannot just reduce production if they want to produce here.
And of course, in order to insist that they continue to produce, it's important to know their cost of production.
Exactly.
So that your insistence is not unfair.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Ni said, well, I think we've dealt with Ni, who wanted to know why we are not regulating Kinky. Yes. All right. Now, I got this text earlier from Ben Boachi of ASEP. I thought he had an interesting perspective I want to share with you. He says, how did we get here? Standards Authority becoming price regulator. They are creating a job for some committee at our expense when there is no need. The real value of cement today is better than it was 5 years ago. So they should check the fundamentals and not skirt the issue. If the trend of exchange rate movement and cement prices are in the same direction, then the problem is obvious.
Ben Boachi, thank you very much for your comments. Indeed, I must say that Franklin Kujo FC also published a similar thing. Ben, the committee is not a standards authority committee or made up of standards authority. It's made up of the industry. How did we get here? We got here because the cement industry was not being regulated. The minister used the provisions of the new Ghana Standards Authority Act to have legislation to regulate the cement industry. So the industry is now being regulated. Maybe the name committee sounds very much within the socialist realm. Committee. But it is the regulator. And that regulator, hosted by the Standards Authority, includes industry. Ben, I would also like to let you know that, yes, from the data we have, there's a positive relationship between the exchange rate and the ex-factory price of cement. But unfortunately, in between that correlation, there's a gap. And that is what we are trying to explain by understanding that if the exchange rate goes up, yes, prices will be expected to go up. But is it in line with what we expect, all other factors considered? So once again, Ben, just like, coming from ASEP, you know very well about the petroleum industry. We are trying to create a similar mechanism. And Honorable Katie has used that. His experience in the energy ministry makes him realize that when you operate that transparent mechanism, consumers are carried along. So prices may not fall if we don't do something about whether the materials we use or the exchange rate. but at least consumers are carried along. So it's a mechanism we are talking about and not fixing prices.
Yeah. Prof. Alex Dodoo, this has been fascinating, as we expected it to be. We are so grateful to you for your time with us this morning. We will be keeping an eye on how things develop in this sector, since it does affect us all. So no doubt this is the first of many conversations. Thanks once again for your time with us.
Thank you very much, Kojo, and thanks, Raymond.